So 大家好，谢谢你们邀请我来分享。I'm so glad to be here today with you. I won't torture you too much with my poor Chinese. I'm excited because hearing from Vida and Brenda, such awesome opportunities, right? Brenda highlighted data being so valuable, the opportunity of fintechs here in Taiwan to be able to interact, not just here, but internationally. And then Vida talked about the importance of building the ecosystem, the opportunities that are coming out of Lithuania, and so much chance that companies have there in Europe, and also for us here in Asia to be able to interact in Europe. These are great times. The future is truly bright. At the same time, generative AI has come onto the stage. The potential here, the opportunity for us, should we have an AI that is public, built so that we can actually use it internationally and talk with each other in multiple languages because the AI translates everything, answers everything for us? Or should we have our own private one? The regulations that are coming out in various jurisdictions make us question that, make us wonder how will artists and technologists be changed? What will roles look like? And at UBS, I had a good discussion with them about what the ultra-high net worth client should be thinking. Should they invest? Should they get into the fight now? Or should we be waiting in terms of developing our own AI? And of course, countries are wondering about that too. I stand here in front of you because for a couple of things, my feet stand in a couple different jurisdictions. I'm in Singapore, where I get to run KBC Global Partners. We look at helping to develop leadership and talent on emerging technology. Over in Washington, D.C., I'm with the Bretton Woods Committee, where we're looking at central bank digital currencies. And in Switzerland, I'm with the group that's called DEC Institute, where we're finally looking to certify blockchain activities as well, people that want to get into that space. But we're all made up of data, and so I hope that maybe there's a word here or something that you connect with, some experience that we have shared together as well. And there's great news. We're able to right now see times where governments are spending money on training people, building the talent inside of their jurisdictions. Learners are more excited than ever before. You go on LinkedIn, and it's like everyone has a certification. And as you look at the technology progression, we're back talking about fun things again with technology. There was a lot of hope and hype in the past couple years, metaverse and blockchain, what it would do and how it would change our lives. But who was the first group of people to complain about generative AI? Who were the first group of people complaining? This is so different. It's making who do too much easy work? Who complained first? The teachers. They said, the kids, I give them a book assignment, summarize this book. They finish before they walk out of the classroom. And every single submission looks different. They complained, wait a second, in the programming department, I asked for them to do calculate pi, and they finished instantly. Are we going to go ahead and change education? What will we do in order to interact with this new technology? And businesses have more data than ever before. We're concerned about privacy. We're concerned about who has access to it, how it can be used. But on the other hand, we're delighted that the right airline flight shows up when we look up Google. We're ecstatic that perhaps what we're interested in looking for shows up in our feed. Again, we're scared when what we were just talking about with our friends ends up on every single social media and presenting there as targeted advertisements. Huge opportunities and risks as well. And so the problems that are here, while companies have more data than ever before, they lack the talent and the wherewithal to know how to compete with the big giants that are promoting those ads. organizations are trying to get a handle on this, but the data is growing exponentially. The talent's not. And education. How do we get to education where it makes a difference, where there's outcomes that we're able to see that were delivered because of what was taught in the classroom? We're moving back to a time of education where people almost have to be apprentices in new technology. 100 years ago, we were industrializing education. Come in. Thank goodness they have multiple bullets here. We expected that, but then, here's another. Okay. There we go. Testing, testing. AI, don't cut me off. Okay. And so finally, we have learners that are really excited, but are we providing education that inspires them when they see so many other things on YouTube and distractions and so forth, right? How do we get back into the seat? And so there's a few things that I want to take you through today, but all of us have a responsibility to drive a difference here. As I look at all of you, I'm no different. We're all the same. We're all interested in what are we doing now and what could the future look like. You came here because you were interested in understanding more about it. And so there's 3 words up here: know, decide, and act. I want you to know a bit more. I'd love for you to decide what will you do with this, and then actually do the important aspect, take action. Vida talked about, hey, there's the government policies being established, and we need to establish more. Brenda said, hey, there's opportunities for your business to grow. And so we can, in various areas, really take action. So if you sit back and just know a few things from today and don't do anything, all of the speakers will be sad. But if we see a year or 2 years from now, you're standing here talking about this or sharing at or we're getting into your company, that'll be so awesome. These 3 words are so important. Can we say them together? Now, last time I was here in Taiwan, I was here virtually. It was COVID. We did this over Zoom. And so the synchronization over Zoom, you try to get people to say something at the same, very hard. I have high hopes today. So let's say this all together, okay? Know, decide, act. We'll say them one in order. On the count of 3. Ready? Ready? Yeah. Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3. Know, decide, act. All right, let's get ready to take some action in here. First of all, generative AI. We can see this has come into life, and everyone's been talking about it. Teachers and students are working on it, but let's look at the impact on business. First of all, 50% less coding time. This has been a stat that's been quoted, but I got to tell you, in my own personal life, 50% might be a little bit low. It could be 100%. And for the enterprise, it lowers tech debt. We're talking about how do we deliver standards on data? How do we enable companies to share information together? Banks in order to have open APIs. But the complaint is it takes so long for me to adjust the mainframe. Where's these technology people coming from that are going to implement all these standards? And cybersecurity, oh my goodness. But this lowers the tech debt. When you go and look, if you want to spin up an Amazon server, ChatGPT will give you all the right code to do that. You want to spin up a new app to test things out? You want to create an API set? ChatGPT gets that done. So from an enterprise perspective, we don't see IT departments going away. But for small and medium enterprises, low code and no code environments are here to stay. And what does that mean for developers? Does that mean that they don't have jobs anymore? No. In fact, because AIs don't always tell the truth, you can't trust that they're even programming right for you sometimes. But as a programmer, you can get your work done so much faster. If we look at the next part here, analysis activities, right? You can dump data into ChatGPT, and this is why public versus private AIs are so important. You can dump data in, and it'll give you an answer. It'll provide you the insights. It'll even write a paragraph for you. This is what we're talking about. Economic analysis, policy analysis, what happened with regulations, doing comparisons between countries, regulations, all can be done now with the AI. If you're in a bank and you want it to actually provide, an email to your client using the chief investment officer's note, which reduces risk, right? If you follow the chief investment officer's guidelines, you're reducing the risk when you go to email your client as a client advisor. But the chief investment guideline is this long paper and so forth. And how do I personalize it for my client? Put it in ChatGPT. It's a public note, but your client information is not public. You're banking secrecy. You have rules, so you can't put their information in. Where do we find the right balance here? And as we look over for business analysts, we struggled with data scientists over the past 5 years, 6 years. Companies said, let's hire data scientists. Let's bring them in. They said, okay, I'm going to write you a program in Python that'll do a decision tree for you and predict your next customer and tell you what the price should be. And the sales team was like, I don't trust anything you say because I don't understand anything you just said. Now, business analysts can be that salesperson. What should my pricing be? What should I write to my customer? How should I respond to this email? And so we see a change now that business people can amp up their analyst skills as well. And of course, communication and marketing. I mean, people have talked about how marketing folks are going to struggle, especially right at the early time when you graduate with a marketing degree. Who will hire you? Well, 30% on the enterprise side are going to say, hey, I've got marketing budget. Let's go ahead and spend. Let's bring in some people that will write things. But now ChatGPT and other AIs write things automatically. Why do I need an intern? Why do I need a young marketing person? One lawyer came to me and said, Keith, I don't understand how I'm going to justify why I should hire junior or young partners anymore. This thing writes all the stuff I need. Why do I hire a paralegal? They're having discussions at the enterprise level. But at the SME level, where you don't have money or you're struggling to make ends meet, and you're like, I just need to read this contract. Let's try out ChatGPT. Read the contract for me. You didn't have to call a lawyer. The social impact is real. Let's take a quick look, and I'll do the demo here. In banking, sometimes you have a client that says, hey, I'd like to change my investment thesis. I'd like to change how you're investing my money. And so I want you to write a mandate for me and update the way that we do that. And so we went into our fun ChatGPT here. And what we started off with was a conversation around, let's go ahead and discuss, changing and interviewing my client about what they would need. So I've given it a prompt, that prompt engineering. And what's neat is that you do prompt engineering. What do you need to know? Programming? No. You need to know the nuances of language. So all of a sudden, the arts and social sciences departments are alive again. Because how do you get the tone? How do you make sure the length is right? And so let's look at this. I had the AI begin to ask questions that I would ask my client. So what happened? Why would you make changes in your portfolio? Well, we had a kid. Okay, congrats on your family. And it really is a very friendly AI as well. So what would you want to be concerned with? Education. Great. Where is it going to be? What is it going to look like? I said location, US. It knows the context. It could have been us instead of that. Private and undergrad. That's going to be expensive probably. And even more expensive 17 years from now. So it suggests, well, do you know how much the cost will be? Well, I don't know. 17 years from now, how much would it be? It's $50,000 a year now. So can you give me the inflation-adjusted cost? Sure. Let me go ahead and do that. And this is where the awesome part comes in. It writes a Python program to calculate the cost of inflation. So every business analyst, every salesperson is now a programmer without having to learn Python, without having to do programming. Now, the issue is it right or not? You better check. I like to say that ChatGPT is like an intern. You wouldn't just take your intern's work and send it to your boss, right? You'd kind of check. So same, you want to do the same thing. So okay, I'd like to go ahead and do this. What's a good way to do? How would I set this up? I asked it, and it gives me a bunch of plans. 529 plan, savings. Now we know where ChatGPT was developed, right? Somewhere in San Francisco, US. The savings plan and the approach is all US-centric. So I had to remind it, I'm Singaporean. Okay. Now, I see, it says, I see, being Singaporean opens up different things. So it's got our famous CPF that's here, which delivers 2.5% to 4.5%, by the way, for the past several years, which has been great. You've got your bonds, you've got your other types of products here, and so forth. Great. So I say, give me a balanced portfolio on $1 million. It provides me a suggestion of where to allocate things. It knows that I have CPF, it doesn't consider that, but it gives me other aspects to balance it in. And don't worry, the numbers do add up. ChatGPT is not bad at math, contrary to past observations. So then I said, well, create a table for this, because if I show that mess, that long thing to a client, they're not going to really look at it. And so again, it goes in programs and comes up with a table. And let me skip down as we get to the Monte Carlo simulation. Now, a Monte Carlo simulation, you know, is torture. You go into Excel, you have to put in some, component or additive into it. How are you going to run 10,000 scenarios to see how the client might do? And then you've got to also figure out your expected return and standard deviation. Okay, it's 5:30. I need to get this email to my client. I want to get home. ChatGPT, help. So it comes in and it proceeds with the simulation. I love that, if you do Python programming, you run into errors too. It also runs into errors. And it fixes the errors. It says, I'm a loyal intern. I'm going to work with you. I had a problem. I saw I had a problem. Let me fix this thing up. And so finally, here I get my view. It comes up with my Monty Python simulation, shows me the portfolio growth over time as well, and I'm ready to send it out. What does this mean? Bosses, you ask your team for work, it should be done very quickly. That means they can give you more work? No. Get home earlier, I hope. But in fact, the opportunity is big. I'll switch it back, okay. And so, from a programming perspective, programmers get to come in and enhance what ChatGPT does. But again, if you're a small business, you have a small investment office, now you can really get to speed on checking out business analysis and more. Technology costs always go down. Always go down. And so, do you get in? I asked that question. Do high net worth individuals, do companies get into AI now with millions of dollars? Not necessarily. Wait, experiment, prototype, try things out, see what works. Most importantly, the hardest technology to change is the humans in your office. Their process, their change management is really hard to happen. And so let's go through, and maybe 10 years from now, 5 years, 3 years, we'll see tremendous cost differences as well. Well, unfortunately, we're also challenged by green tech. And what's happening, all this good stuff, all the fun things are going on, but at the same time, we run into another issue. Here on Earth, we're getting more storms, more terrible results each year all around the world. And pictures like this are all too often a reality. What we've lived with now is the result of lots of waste that we've gone through. At the same time, though, we do have some hope. There's an alliance in Singapore, based in Singapore, but works internationally. The Alliance to End Plastic Waste. Plastic is the biggest waste producer, longest in terms of staying in the environment, and they've been able to capture 38,000 tons and be able to adjust and remove things that were on the beaches, while at the same time creating 4,000 new jobs. This is where we get to sustainability. We can't always just talk about tech. We've also got to change the way we live life. $200 million in revenue, and they've been allocating it so that they can improve 4 million plus lives. Here's a beach in Hamburg, Germany. It's not just in third world nations where this is a problem. It's around the world, where they took it from this to this. What a difference. Project Greenpoint by MAS is about how do we get a green fintech ecosystem together. And I just want to stop for a moment here. the critical aspect to this is not just getting data between companies, but remember, now we're enabled by AI to perhaps speed up those data sharing, those programs that need to be developed, the way we interact with each other, even writing the legislation between the countries as well. Project Nexus is the digital side of finance, where we bring things together. So Singapore plus the Bank of International Settlement and other organizations work together on how do we get to digital money? How do we enable a wholesale digital currency, a way to transfer money between banks, but also this is a way for us to have a network where you can just transfer money by your phone, completely changing the need to go over and do a wire transfer and do instant money transfer as well. Fun, fast, cheaper, but big impact on the incumbents. And MAS has a number of other things here to share with you about. Project Orchard. How do we get to programmable money so that we can, at the retail level, perhaps provide certificates? Now, at the last Singapore FinTech Festival, this was fun. And one of my students, because I was a professor at National University of Singapore, Computer Science Department, he said, Prof. Keith, I've got $200 in programmable money. What coffees would you like? So at least that was heartening to see. First, he had learned and used programmable money on Project Orchard. But second, getting a nice coffee at the FinTech Festival was nice too. Thanks, Don. Project Guardian is this interoperable blockchain where how will DeFi and other types of blockchain activities come to life or not? We saw the chairman at the very beginning of today's session share the risks, the challenges that are there. And shouldn't we, if it acts in a certain way, shouldn't we regulate it in the same way? That's true. But let's test. Let's try. Let's see what's happening. And finally, the ESG FinTech grant. Any FinTechs out there that are doing data reporting, even if you're here in Taiwan or in Europe, come on over. Let's connect. Let's have a connection between our jurisdictions so we can get to the right standards there. And let's do it really, really fast as well. And so I want to share with you just a future point of view here where what our challenge will be, we'll have a challenge around business and data and governance as it relates to currency. So a bit of a video here.
With the metaverse being a place to connect people, there's no government borders anymore. Is it because the server is housed at a particular physical location that I'm governed by those laws? Or if I'm multiple servers across multiple jurisdictions, which laws apply? And then we get into finance, of course. If you talk about, well, I have a digital asset and I need to pay for it somehow. Do I use a currency issued by a central bank when I'm not necessarily in a particular country? Or do I use a currency issued by a corporation because they own the platform that I'm on, like Second Life had Lens? How do I decide on financial ownership? From a microeconomic planning perspective, there's a good thing. You can absolutely see to the detail which part of the community is getting money in and which part of the community is just sending money out, and you can do some government planning intervention to try to balance out fiscal policy potential. Of course, the bad side is, again, you get to see exactly what each person is precisely buying. And of course, the tax authorities couldn't be more excited about digital currencies and NFTs and things like this.
The tax authorities couldn't be more excited about digital currencies, and that's true. Every single transaction that you do, perfectly taxed, because we can program the money now. Interesting. So we need to transform the way we think. We need to transform education. We need to go from theory over to practical, starting at the leadership levels, board, C-suite. How do we get you to set up the strategy for Gen AI, for ESG, for digital money? Where should the financial information go? Down to inspiring the next level down, C-1, C-2. Hey, create a project. Work with Project Orchard and MAS. Work over in Lithuania as well. Let's connect together at the C-1 level. And then mid-career professionals, We don't have talent. We don't have enough talent. It's moving too fast. But you can do it because you're going to work on that project that we just sponsored, that proof of concept. And we're going to move fast because we have Gen AI, because we have new technologies, because we have interoperability standards, and because we're working toward practical ways to work. So I asked you at the beginning these 3 words about know, decide, act, and most importantly, let us not love with words and speech, but in action and in truth. We can, each one of us, work on regulations, how this technology would be used in our life, what our business can do. There's so many different ways that we can engage, and all of you have a huge responsibility to help us all together make a big difference in each other's lives. Thank you so much, guys.